let's play Good King Wenceslaus. It's such a wonderful little tune, and it's been around for well over 1,000 years. Amazing. Well, not the tune, but the guy lived 1,000 years ago, Good King Wenceslaus. And he wasn't even really a king. He was just a duke. But after, he was so good that the Pope said you can actually be a king. And so posthumously, he is actually a king. So he was a good guy. I encourage you to read up. If you decide to play this piece, and we're going to dive deep into Good King Wenceslaus in this video. If you decide to play this piece, I encourage you to get on Wikipedia and read up on him. There's another Wenceslaus that is not a good king, that he was rather a schlep, but find the right one. His story, it reads like an episode of Game of Thrones. It's really interesting, and it's fun history. And it's fun to learn history in this way, through song. And maybe that's why it stayed around for so long. So, Good King Wenceslaus, let's dive in. First off, I'll play it for you, and then we will go step by step on how to approach learning to play Good King Wenceslaus. Fun. Okay, let's dive in. If you would like to download this music, you can find it at the link below. So click that. You can enter your email and I'll send you a book of 30 Christmas tunes that you can play through. It's fun. They have tabs and the lyrics and the chords, so you can also just use it for caroling and just playing the chords, strumming the chords and singing if you'd like to. Or you can use the tab or the notation. There's also a notation only version if you'd like as well, if you're not into all the other. So first things first, when we learn a new piece of music, pick up a pencil, look at the whole thing. If you're doing it online, you don't have to do it with a pencil, but look at it just from the bird's eye view and just see what you see. So with this, I know this is really small on your screen, but with dignity, we kind of knew that because it's kingly. We can look here. No sharps and flats or anything like that. This arrangement of it, different arrangements are going to all look different, but if one of the things that we can look for is what is the range? So how high on the neck are we going? And so if we just look through, I'm looking for high notes, looking for high notes, looking for high notes. Looks like this is about the highest note there is, and it's just the 3rd fret on the 1st string. So this is all in root position. So that's really nice. That'll keep it all down here. And then the other thing that we can look at is that there's melody notes on top, there's bass notes on the bottom, right? And that kind of keeps going through. Over here, once we get down here, then it's solid bass and melody notes going at the same time for a little bit. And so that's a characteristic of this second half over here. So that's just something to note. What else can we see here? We can also see this basic pattern. We have 6 quarter notes and a half note, and then 4 quarter notes, half and half. And this goes on 6, half, 4, half, half, 6, half, 4, half, half, even though it's different, 6, half, 4, half, half, and a long. So that is the same rhythm all the way through. That's really good to know. So that whenever we're looking at the rhythm, then we can say, okay, I can just figure this out once, and then it's all of the rest of it is just right in line. Since you know the words, do you know all the words? I don't know all the words. There's a lot of words, but it's a great story just to read through the words. But because there are words, chances are you know the basic melody anyway. So you'll pick it up in your ear, and so that'll make it easier to learn. All right, so let's dive in. We're going to take this in 4 bar sections. Each line is a 4-bar section. A bar is just these lines right here. It's just a way to split up 4 beats. And so this is written in 2/2, but that's really just kind of a little bit faster 4/4. So it's written as 4 quarter notes. If you don't know this music theory, just ignore it. But 2-2 is very similar, except that it's felt in 2 big beats. Boom, boom. Good King Wenceslaus, da, da, da. It's big 2 beats per measure, and so that's kind of what 2-2 is. But it looks just like 4-4 on the page. So with this, let's just take a look. One of the things we can do when we're learning a piece that we know how it sounds is we can just play the melody. Just to get a feel of where that is, and then say what else is going on. Because when there is a piece like this, that's a vocal piece, everybody knows what it sounds like. And so then the most important thing is to get that melody line, the vocal line, the words, to get that part just like everybody expects it to sound, which is connected, strong, the things in the right volume, nothing poking out weird, anything like that. So connect those. Just play that and get that in your head. Now whenever you add the bass notes, just make sure that that keeps happening and there's not any kind of weird cut notes or clipped notes or anything like that. So now let's take a look with the bass notes. So we're just going to play the first half here. So with this then, we have this little move here. We've got the 3 and the 1, and then we're going to the 2 and the 4 on the B and the D. This is a really common, we're in the key of C and this goes to G7. We see this a lot, this particular move. It fits in the hand well, it sounds good, and so we see this, and the sounds go, this is going down, and this is going up. So it just sounds good, and so we see this combination a lot. So if you've never done that before, practice back and forth, just that right there. And just get really good at that, because you'll use it again in some other piece. We can also take a look at the length of these notes. So these low notes down here are long. They last all the way till the other one. So it's connecting. And so we want to let those ring as much as possible, which means just keep pressing the strings. And that way we have a nice bass line. Really solid. Because this is a C chord, you could play that whole C at the beginning if you want to. It won't do any harm. Play 4 notes of the C chord. So there it is, the first one. Here's what then happens. Then we're going to go down to the first finger comes all the way down here to the F, low 1st fret, with that second finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, the A. And now back to the C. So that's going to happen again in this piece. And you know how many times that happens in this piece? It happens 3 times. So it happens for all the sections. We do one thing, and then we do this again. Then we do another thing, and then we do this again. And so it's nice to get this and just practice that. Now, if you'll notice, we're gonna have to move this one finger to get up here at some point. And so we wanna connect that bass nice, but it's not really gonna happen because at some time we're gonna have to hop that first finger up. And so here's what we're gonna do. Cut the note right at that end note, right at that open B right there, and just make that into a rest. So that's where we lift it. And so then up, and then get back to your C position. And you can just practice that move, practice that joint right there of getting to 1. And really get your choreography worked out, because again, it's going to happen 3 times in this piece. So just practice it once, get it right, and then insert it for the other spots in the piece. So the whole line again is... And that's the whole line. So practice those joineries, practice those little spots, and we're off to the next section. So now we come to measure 5. the second 4-bar phrase. And if you'll notice, well, that sounds familiar. Well, that sounds familiar too. It's actually the exact same as the first 4 bars. So it's a freebie, no extra charge. So then now you've got the first 8 just by doing that good work that you've already done. And that brings us to measure 9. And this is really fun. It fits in the hand well, it feels good. So here we have, let me just play it for you. And then we have the same second half. So this first half of this, these 2 notes moving at the same time, it's well worth your practice. How do you actually practice this? Well, there are a few ways you could go about it. Here's what I like to do, is just look at the parts separately. So just look at the notes. We have, it's part of a C scale of those 5 notes. 3, 1, 0, 3, 1 on the strings. Then you can do the exact same thing with the bottom notes. 2, 0, so that's the E, so the 2nd fret of the 4th string. So 2, 0, 3, 2, 3, 2, 0. So it's just those 5 notes put into the particular order. Then we can start putting these together, and we just go slow. Notice the fingerings, 2, 4, going to the 1, going to the 3. And one of the things that you can do is just take small groups of these. Instead of all 7 of these notes, just take 2 of them to begin with. So just look at the first 2. And just notice how that feels in your hand, and listen to that top note connecting really well. You can also listen to that bottom note also being really smooth so that there's no big jumps. Get that really nice. Just go back and forth if you like, just like you did in the very first section. And then the next one. And then, and finally it'll go to. So get those. Then go into 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And so this is a practice technique. This is a practice method. It's just making little bitty bits instead of stringing them all together. And this is practice rather than playing. We don't want to just play through it a million times. Instead, we actually want to do the work that gets it up to speed, gets it into our hands as soon as possible. And this is one way to do that. Break it down, work on it in little bitty chunks, and then string them together. And then finally, all 4. I'm just adding a note and then another note. This is the add a note method. And then finally, then you've got the whole thing. And I'm playing it fast, but you can go do this much slower. The second half of this is just our same exact second half as everything else. So easy peasy on that. And that brings us to the last line here. So then we have, I'll just play it for you. And so again, we'll split this into 2-bar sections, nice and clean. Get that rock up from that low note to the A. Really listen to the way that connects. Don't lift that G early. Don't do that. Instead, really listen to it. Very beautiful. Have the melody connect, have everything and connect up really nice. And you can always just go slow and listen like crazy. And that's just going to make your playing so much better in your practice. And then whenever you play it, it'll be much smoother at tempo, at full speed. And then the second half of this is just like we were just working on, but then we just go all the way down to that C right there. And so then that you can pull on the work that you've already done in the previous line. And then we can rock this up to where you have a bar on these first two strings, pressing both of those at the same time with your first finger. Get that low note down here. This is an F chord. And then back to C, big C chord at the end. Here's a trick I like to do. Whenever there's these lines that go down, and this is the same for the other one too, whenever they go down, I like to get louder. So start them a little quieter and then get them louder as they go. You don't have to do this, but I like to start them. Da, 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 da. I like to press forward on those. Same thing here. Da, 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 da. So it gets stronger as it goes down. And I just think that sounds good. I think it moves the music forward. It really leads the ear so that we want to hear more, as opposed to hitting it and then fading away. I just think this sounds better. We also have this other little word up here, RIT, this little abbreviation here. That means slow down a little bit. And so that's optional, but you can do it. What that does is to slow that little ending down, and then once you start up with the next verse, because this sounds good played many times, these 4 lines, you just keep cycling it. I mean, there's 5 verses of lyrics written here, so you can play it 5 times if you like. What that does is it really says this is the end of a section. It really brings it home. It says, boom, this was something. Now I'm off to do something else. And so it's a closure. It's like a nice little bow on that section. So you can do that if you'd like. You can do it on some of them and not on others if you like. That's a very stylish thing to do if you'd like to see, especially depending on the words or depending on how you're doing it. You can choose. You can see what sounds good to you. That's always going to be the best final governor of is it a good idea or not. Of course, that's subjective as well. So this is Good King Wenceslaus. The whole piece. It should be fairly quick for you to put this together if you practice really well, just like we talked about in this. If you really focus on the different bits, don't be playing the same thing over and over. For instance, the measures 3 and 4 at the top, the second 2 of every line, you don't need to practice those constantly. So you can instead, with your practice time, focus on the stuff that you still need to polish. And then whenever you play it, you'll play it. Right? But you don't need to constantly be playing that through every single time you play each of the first 2 measures of each line. Instead, focus your attention on the parts that you still need to work on, and then you can put it all together, right? So go forth and play this. Again, if you would like to download this and a bunch of other holiday tunes, then you can find that at the link below, a big book of 30 pieces, and you are welcome to it. It's a lot of fun. And we'd love to share that with you. So enjoy. Best of luck in your practice with Good King Wenceslaus and with everything else. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.